Well, hello minders, Steve Mitchell here with the Mind of Watercolor, and look what I have. Maybe you recognize that name, Trekell. Some of you may be familiar with their brushes. I, however, am not. I've had a lot of people tell me I need to try these brushes. Even when I taught a class a couple years ago, I had some of my students have these brushes. They loved them. There are several artists out there, even on YouTube, that swear by them. I have just a ton of brushes. I have 5 times more brushes than I need. But it's for this very reason. I keep searching for perfect brush characteristics and kind of educating myself, and of course presenting the results to you as to the best brushes, the brushes I'm going to like. And I've discovered a lot of things over the years, been able to make good recommendations to you. Here we're starting another one, and this is not going to be a full review so much as I'm just going to introduce myself to their brushes. And since I got the box, we'll just do a little unboxing. I know unboxings are like so overdone on YouTube, but hey, what the hey? You know, we'll do it anyway. I only ordered one particular type. And by the way, they have never contacted me or sent me any material. I bought these. As far as I know, they have no idea who I am. The company is Trekell. Whoop! Paper's falling everywhere. Sticker. Professional artist brushes. I mean, there's a real following to Trekell, so they must do a really good job. It's probably as well known as the Rosemary and Company brand in the UK. I mean, there's like a huge following for that brand too. So I'm curious. I didn't order a lot. I've got 6 brushes here that I ordered out of their Protégé synthetic Kolinsky line. And just to explain what it is I'm looking for, when it comes to Kolinsky brushes, Kolinsky Sable, which is becoming harder and harder to get, it's an unmatched really type of fiber. In some respects, and other ways, synthetics can match it really well. I found a number of really good synthetic brands in terms of their performance and how they handle water. The one characteristic, though, that I continue to search for is a durable point in a synthetic for watercolor that matches Kolinsky performance, and that's been really hard to find. So far, my choice for that is the Princeton Aqua Elite. This is Princeton's top-of-the-line watercolor brush. So far, my experience with their points, and this is a number 12 round, has been pretty good. The problem with many synthetics that have sharp points is that over time, the points either dull, meaning that the filaments wear out, or they hook on the end. And that happens to a lot of them. Even these Aqua Elites to a degree. But so far, for a synthetic with a point, the Aqua Elite has been my favorite. I've had other brushes that are great synthetics. I bought a whole series of Dynasty brushes. I have more testing to do on this one, but the Dynasty Caviar was a real favorite. Of course, you know, if you've been around this channel long, that probably one of my absolute favorite brushes is the Silver Brush Black Velvet. Holds a wonderful point, but this is a blend of squirrel hair and synthetic. That's great, but it's held its point well. This brush right here is probably 15 years old, still going strong. But is there a synthetic, pure synthetic with no blend, that will hold its point? I assume there probably is. I know I'm rambling a bit, but just wanted to set the stage as to my state of mind and what I've been thinking as I search. I'm still very satisfied with many of the synthetics, but still looking in terms of that point that wears like iron and yet has the characteristics, the water handling characteristics of a Kolinsky Sable. Protégé is their synthetic Kolinsky, okay? And that mainly has been where my recent search and look at brushes has led me. And here's what I have. So many of the synthetic brands that you buy, even good synthetic brand rounds, are rounded on the end. So like this Princeton Neptune have a rounded end. And by the way, I love Princeton Neptunes, but I don't love their points. Yeah, so that's the challenge. This is a Rosemary and Company true Kolinsky Sable. And I mean, these points just never seem to wear out. But as you know, Kolinsky Sable, it's becoming harder and harder to get and more expensive in the process. All right, so here's what I have. A number 12 round right out of the box. First look, really nice point. Same with the number 8 round. Nice long pointed round. Love that. A rigger. These I didn't buy so much as for point, obviously. These are flats. I always like having a good quality flat. So these are good ways to test water retention and water distribution characteristics for watercolor. So the Trekell Protégé line of watercolor brushes. Oh, I almost forgot. I ordered this Trekell watercolor brush set, which samples several of their other brushes. It does have a 1/2 inch golden Tacklon wash, Onyx, which is their synthetic squirrel, an Onyx quill mop, which is their synthetic squirrel, 2 more Protégés, a number 2 and a number 4, and a 0 Onyx round. Again, Onyx is their synthetic squirrel. And then a golden Tacklon liner. Really nice. There's their number 4. See, it's already got a little bit of a hooked point. This is interesting. This is their quill. I like small quills. This is their Onyx 8000 series. This is a synthetic squirrel. These all have sizing in them, so can't really flex them. Wow, take a look at this number 2 Protégé. Nice tapered round. That looks like a good detail brush. Another Onyx. This is a 0, part of the set, and this is again their synthetic squirrel. All right, so I'm going to pull out a small watercolor block and we'll see what these babies can do. Okay, actually I'm going to paint in this Kilimanjaro 100% cotton sketchbook. That's like a 5.5 by 8.5. These are water retention tests. Just something I quickly did. I fully expected, those are the 2 brushes, by the way, that I use. I expected it to pass with flying colors, and it did. Just really good water dispersion characteristics. And that's what you want. That's like a Kolinsky. That part I'm satisfied with. And using that same sketchbook, I taped off a page. We're going to do a little tree portrait. And I'm going to use 2 colors, only 2 colors. In reality, it's more like 4, because this is the Schmincke super granulating colors. Using the Tundra Violet, I think. No, I'm sorry. The Tundra Violet and the Glacier Brown. I'm going to start with the 3/4 inch Trachel brush, the wash brush. And we're just going to get into it. You saw me pre-wet that paper with my Sterling Edwards blending and glazing brush. I just wanted everything here to be really soft. This is just going to be sort of a platform, a background for my tree. Little kind of a purplish tree line in the back there. That's mostly the Tundra Violet. And you see more of the Glacier Brown up in the front there. Just a tiny wisp in the sky. Not doing much with this background, but I did want to kind of establish a base for my tree. Just an impression of a tree line in the distance, and again, just soft shapes and colors. So far, this Trekell 3/4 inch wash brush is wonderful. It's hard to tell on one using. Generally, you have to use brushes over and over again and compare them to brushes you already have. Ones you like, ones you didn't like so much. In the end, it's a lot like watercolor paper in that if it doesn't get in my way, if it does everything I need it to do, paper's dry now, by the way. That's what that page turn was for. So I've let this all dry and you see my background. And I'm just going to block in this tree with that wash brush. Get some nice little crooks and, angular characteristics going to it. Make it a real character-filled tree. That's what a tree portrait is all about for me. It's just painting a tree that has unique characteristics, not a tree you see every day or a generic tree. So, but anyway, back to talking about using a brush. You just, over time, you look to the brushes that you reach for time and again and just do things the way you want to do them. It's kind of simple as that. Sometimes it's hard to put into words. Right off the bat, I noticed with this wash brush, and kind of hard to explain why, but these brushes just had kind of a luxurious feel to them. And that's very much the same feeling you get when you're using a high quality Kolinsky Sable. So they're really, I think, paying a lot of attention to how they equate to a Kolinsky Sable, and that supposedly is what the Protégé line is supposed to do. But again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I do know that professionals love these brushes, and Trekell tries to position themselves as a professional art supply company. They don't sell anything, at least in terms of brushes, that is what's called student grade or craft grade or hobby grade. So I appreciated that about them. They're not making any compromises. And a lot of times art supply companies will make compromises just to sell to a larger market. And the other thing I really was impressed about with Trekell is they have a pro artist team program where they collaborate with professional artists through video, through sharing and collaborating, who are dedicated to using these brushes and love them. That meant a lot to me. Seasoned professionals who will swear by these brushes and stake their reputation on it is a big deal. As you saw, I put those details in the tree trunk pretty quickly and easily with that big wash brush. I'm using the number 12 round now. This painting went and is going pretty quickly. But I did want to get some unique characteristics in there, something that's worthy of a tree portrait. Yeah, and when you just enjoy painting, and again, the paint and the rendering you're doing is acting the way you want it to, that's a plus, and it speaks well for the brushes. And I wasn't just after the points. I think a really good point that will stand up over time. By the way, here's the smaller wash brush, the 1/4 inch, and I'm just using it to lift some highlights. These Schmincke super granulating colors lift extremely easily. They really just sit up on top of the paper. It's almost like lifting it off of a non-absorbent surface. But that kind of, while that's not great for glazing, it's great for lifting and highlighting. That's what I'm doing here. But back to the brushes. The company fits in that profile of companies that fascinate me. They're started by one person who had a vision. Apparently, Brian Trekell saw some wonderful brush making traditions in Japan. He decided he wanted to make brushes. He learned his craft, I think, in Germany. Started making brushes out of his apartment. I think it's the story I read. I don't know that he's involved in the company anymore. The CEO now is a woman named, Courtney Bridges, I think, who was with the company from the time she got out of high school. I think that was the story. Anyway, and I think they made nail brushes, so there's some confusion about that. And she's saying now that, she took this to a 100% art supply type brush company. Wish they had a little bit more detailed background. Maybe most people don't find that fascinating. I find it interesting. Anyway, but it was started small with a singular vision by one person, and now has a great reputation. There's just not a lot of other brushes out there that I want to try. I mean, mostly because I have too many already. I have drawers and cups full of them. But these I did want to try eventually, and now I'm getting around to it. And again, as I say, it's not just the points. I wanted to try a brush that has a real following, like Rosemary and Company. I already know those brushes are great. Those, I have a couple of their Kolinsky Sables, and I just love, love, love them. And pros all over the world rave about Rosemary and Company. Starting to see some of the same reputation with Trekell. This is the number 2 round. It's a really long pointed round. Rounds can differ quite a lot, and I think that was one of the things that pleased me so much when I got these, is they're tapered rounds. You can get tapered pointed rounds, and you can get round rounds. As I kind of demonstrated a little earlier with brushes like the Princeton Neptune. Most of the Princeton Neptune brushes are round rounds. At least I haven't seen any that have a tapered pointed round to them. And you need both, you know. If you've been around this channel long, you may have seen in the past I really raved about Da Vinci Cosmotop spin brushes. I still think they're a fantastic brush. But most of their brushes, except for, let's say, the small detail brushes, don't have points. I love the Da Vinci Cosmotop Spin pointed oval wash, the little cat's tongue. That's a great brush. I still use that quite a lot. Most of their rounds are fairly rounded rounds. And you need those every now and then. So this search is not like, I just can't find the best brush. I can't find the right brush. No, I have lots of great brushes, lots of brushes that I'm satisfied with. But, you know, my testing nature and my curiosity just always seems to get the best of me. And this was a brand I really did want to try. Really enjoying painting these little branches. Still the number 2 round. Really nice point. And if that point stays on that brush, I'm going to be extremely, extremely happy. I'm still painting with this brush and its point years later. That's going to be great. I know brushes don't last forever, any brush. But we'll see. We'll see how they do. And I don't know what the deal is with synthetic points that hook. You know, one of you scientific brush-minded people out there who has some knowledge of it, real knowledge, not guesses, okay? Tell me why the tip of a synthetic brush, a pointed synthetic brush, tends to hook. I'm not talking about the one that's left on its point and it's bent because it was left on its point. That happens, but I take great care of my brushes. I don't let that happen to any of them. And over time, some of them, more than others, will hook. And I think it's because if you paint on one side for a length of time, it kind of stretches the fiber and kind of like running scissors along ribbon, and it makes some curl or hook. I don't know. That's my theory. I don't know that's why. Princeton Aqua Elites have done it a little bit. I really love the Jerry's Artorama, the faux Kolinskys. I tried them, but their points hooked pretty badly. And that's not a bad brush either. Lots of great brushes out there. But you know, sometimes searches and product use preference gets fickle. Now I'm testing the rigger, and I loved that rigger. Boy, that was great. And I was putting in my final branches and details. Really enjoyed detailing out this tree and some of those ground textures. You know, putting in fine branches is an exercise in design. I've covered that before in doing branch studies. So you got to leave some areas open. You have to look at how you're subdividing the space with your branches, not just where they would logically branch off of the tree. So it's a lot of observation. All right, well, I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm going to pull this tape off. We'll take a look. Yeah, nice little portrait of a tree. And the brushes just shined. They did their job. Really enjoyed them. I'm going to be probably trying their Protégé Plus line, which is an extension of this or an upgrade from this. I don't know exactly. And their Onyx brushes, which is their faux squirrel. But these were great. I've done a few tweaks now to this. See the shadows on the upper part of the trunk. But yeah, brush success. Love them. Looking forward to doing more with them. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, patrons, for your support. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.